Round 4 of the tournament. I'm playing as white. My opponent is rated 1600 elo fide. So let's see what happened. First of all, I played the move e4. And the surprise came since the start of the game, because my opponent decided to play the move b6. Now b6 is a weird move. This is the Owen defense. I'm not saying it's not playable. It's not the best opening for black. It's kinda sus if white knows theory, but even in classical, I would say it could be a pretty good surprise weapon. I definitely need to study this better, but yeah, I mean, it's playable, but definitely not scary. So what is the point? The point is that you want to put a lot of pressure on this pawn. So let's say what could happen. Let's say we play d4, bishop b7. Let's say, well, even bishop d3, there is already the move f5, for example. Well, maybe not now. Now is really stupid, actually. So let's say, I don't know, something like knight on f6, knight on d2, something like that, and you keep putting pressure on the pawn. But even going back, I believe there is a line where they play f5, but I don't remember what. But yeah, I mean, it's nothing scary if you can defend well. So this actually happened in the game. So bishop b7, bishop d3, and he decided to play the move knight on f6, which makes sense. Just putting a lot of pressure on the pawn, and now you can defend with knight c3, knight d2, or the best move, queen e2, which I played. So I knew the theory till this point. I mean, yeah, maybe some move after this, but yeah, nothing crazy. White stand better because we have the control of the center, as you can see. This pawn is not that weak. I mean, it is well defended. We can castle pretty soon. If you play stupid stuff, I'm going to open the file and attack you. So yeah, it is a good move. He decided to play knight on c6, which does make sense. And now I played the only move I thought made any sense. Because if I play knight on f3, he's going to play knight on b4. And I have to give up the bishop. If I move the bishop, I lose the pawn. So it is really stupid. So the only playable move is definitely c3. So c3 not only defend the pawn from the knight, but the knight can't play, can't go on the b4 square, and also my bishop will go on c2 eventually if I need it. So it makes a lot of sense, and white is definitely better. So e5. The first thing it comes to mind is playing d5. Although if you play d5, you kinda lock yourself. I thought it wasn't the best move ever, which is true. There is definitely something better to do. Usually you want to keep the tension in chess. So what I decided to do was to just play knight on f3. So that if you take, I'm going to take and have a huge center and I destroy you. Because this is too good. Castle? I guess, okay, you could even play these. Let's say, definitely looks better. And then you take, or bishop e4. You stand much better. Don't listen to Stockfish, he's stupid. So, you definitely don't want to take anyway, it's obvious. So, my opponent decided to play d6. At this point, I really thought about playing the move d5, because what else can you do? I mean, your opponent is not going to take, at least for now. So, you could castle. It is you could castle. Although, I mean, I was like, okay, I can castle and then what? Might play h5, h4, it might know a stupid line. Because my opponent is blitzing everything, so he definitely knows this stuff. So I was like, well, I can just develop pieces and we will figure it out. And I decided to play the move bishop on g5. The idea of bishop g5 is that if you play bishop on e7, maybe d5 does make more sense at this point. And I mean, because you can just play d5 and the knight has to go on b8. Maybe I saw even something else. If I remember correctly, I saw like knight take, maybe. But what is the point? This and this? Nah, but it's nothing crazy. Like, looks like you have something going on as white, but after bishop g5, not even that much. Apparently, you should just castle and then play d5. And you basically build on the queen side. And eventually, I believe you're going to move the knight and play the move f4 and try to break everything. And just say, I have more space, I have more active pieces, I'm going to win in the long run, which makes sense. Although I wasn't sure about that at the time, so I just decided to play this. Now knight on d2, just developing pieces. Knight on d2 is bad because you can take. You might say, so why? Why is this bad? Well, the problem is that after you take, it's good that we have the center. We have a lot of space in the center, but they can play knight before. With castle, and then, okay, he decided to castle, and now knight before. What is the problem with knight before? The problem is that, first of all, if I play bishop c4, I think there is d5. And d5 is not good for us, because we are left with an isolated pawn. It's not the best thing ever, I had to say. So, also this pawn is pretty weak. I was like, okay, this move is not even that great. I can just play bishop on b1. I'm defending everything. And I'm going to play a3. The knight has to go back. Can't really go on before again. And I have a lot of space. I stand much better. And my opponent played bishop on a6, which I totally missed. Now, at first glance, I thought I was completely lost. Because, like, I blundered the fork. I didn't even think about the fact that since the knight is on the square, is actually covered in this, and that you can play bishop on a6, and for some reason I have the queen on e2 and the rook on f1. So I'm not used to play this position, I completely missed this. Although, luckily for me, there is the move knight on c4. Knight on c4 looks sus, but apparently he defends everything. Like, I calculated this move for a lot of time, and I thought, well, I should be able to hold. The fact is that after you play d5, which is pretty much the only move, and I take, you can take with the knight on f6 or with the knight on b4. I decided to play with the knight on f6. Now I can unpin myself with the move queen e4. Now this is not necessary. I could even take. And at this point, if you take with the knight, there is this, I believe. And if you take with the queen, I'm just going to trade. And play rook c1. So not lost, I can just defend everything. I have an isolated pawn that's through. My pieces are stupid, but I think I can hold. So another thing you could do, which is slightly different, but pretty much is the same concept. You can play queen on e4, so you force the move g6. And basically we get the same identical position. I have to take, because if I mean, the bishop is hanging now. If I move the bishop, I lose the knight. So I have to take. And after you take, again, taking with the knight is kinda sus in my opinion. Not the best thing ever. I can just play rook on c1. So after you take with the queen, we have the same position. The difference is that you play g6. So you can argue it's better now for black. I wasn't sure if this was true or not. So it was like, okay, I'm going to play this, whatever. And we see. Oh, the other thing I remember now is that you don't have, like, you are not forced to take if I don't play this. Let's say I take now. What did I see? What did I see? Yeah, I think maybe this time taking with the knight does make more sense, because if you play this, you can play this, and I'm left with this isolated pawn and still the pressure on the knight. So by playing queen on e4, I'm kind of forcing everything. I'm forcing a lot of dates, and I was like, okay, we don't have a ton of pieces, I should do all these. I'm definitely worst. It's obvious. But it's not the worst thing ever. I had definitely much worse position than this. So bishop on b7. Bishop on b7 is actually really annoying. Because how am I going to defend the knight? And I was thinking about a lot of things. For example, I could play knight on e5. The problem is that you can just play f6. And after you play f6, what am I going to do? Playing these? Don't think so. I could, but rook on f7. Where is my knight going? Anywhere. I lose the game. So instead of playing this, I don't know what else can I do. I don't really want to move this knight because it can't really go on a lot of squares. So my idea was I can just play knight on c4 to d2. So the knight is defended. The knight is passive. Okay, it's through. This bishop is stupid. Okay, it's through. But you need to waste the time defending this. So he decided to play knight from b4 to d5, which does make sense. It totally defends. And now it's time to develop the bishop, because it's too bad. If I don't develop pieces, if I just waste one time in this endgame, I get destroyed. Absolutely destroyed. So it makes sense to play bishop on e4. It is kinda sus, probably, because there might be some tactic. Although, by playing this move, you can't really move the knight, because I'm going to take the bishop. And if you play something like f5, I can just go back and say, well, now you gave me the square, I'm probably better now. You need to be careful. You cannot just play whatever you want, because it's true that I'm worst, but I'm worst for now. It's not that easy. So he decided to defend the knight with the rook, makes sense, and now knight on c4. The idea of knight on c4 is kind of funny. So after you play f6, which is not necessary, I don't know. You can just play the move knight on e3. What is the idea? The idea is that if you take, I can definitely take your bishop. You have to move the knight somewhere. On the bad square, probably. So, well, okay, you could even play this. Makes sense. But at this point, I mean, I have the bishop, you don't. You don't even have the pressure on this diagonal. I stand pretty well. I can probably play bishop on a6 and without it to pin the knight. It is a decent position. So instead of doing that, he just decided to move the rook. But now I get to play it even more. And the fact is that, okay, I have an isolated pawn, but now you don't even have enough pieces to put pressure on it. Like, it's not easy for you to attack the pawn till I defend it with the knight. So I decided to play rook on c6. Does make sense. Putting pressure on the pawn. Putting pressure on this pawn because I want to play rook on c1. Does make sense. And now king on f1. I definitely don't want to allow the rook on e2. If you manage to play rook on e2, you win. As simple as that. Because there is too much pressure on the pawn. You are getting too active. You could even double rooks. It's scary. It is a scary position. So king on f7 does make sense, and now rook on c1. If you move the knight, you lose the pawn. You need to be careful. You see, I'm slightly worse because my opponent can't do too much. An idea could be to play this, but I'm going to take. So yeah, it's not scary. Now he decided to play this move, and the idea is that you probably can play this move now. But I can just play a3. I mean, I saw it. I can just play a3. I'm not going to lose to this. So he played knight on f4. Knight on f4 is not super precise because it does nothing. It does nothing. I can literally play g3, which I play and say, okay, go for it. Go for your plan. The fact is that if you play, for example, knight on d3, I saw something. Yeah, probably rook on b1, but even I think I saw this. Rook on c2. And where is your knight going? Anywhere. So it doesn't make any sense. And if you play knight on e2, Well, there is rook d1 apparently, but even maybe rook on e1, I think is an easy way to draw. I saw this. But probably rook on d1 you win. Because the knight can't still go anywhere, which makes sense. So the knight has to go back. And now, after playing this stuff, you actually gave me some move. Like, you gave me the move a3. Like, this is the same position we had a few moves ago. Like this. But now I got to play a3 and g3. So I'm definitely getting some advantage now. I'm still worst, but I'm definitely getting somewhere. Because after this move, your knight can't really go anywhere. And I could eventually put the king on g2 and maybe on h3, or move the knight and try to have the king on f3. I can try to do something decent at this point. So the knight goes back on d2. And now rook on e6. I kinda have to play it. I can't really do anything else. Now I gave a check. The king goes back. Rook d1. Defending the pawn. Now this is a really equal position. I'm still slightly worse because of this pawn, but it doesn't really matter. It is super easy to draw a position like this if you want to. So knight on c4 and rook on d7. Knight on e3. The king defends. I could trade, but if I trade, I probably lose. The king is too active and I'm going to lose the pawn. You need to be careful in endgames. You can lose an endgame every time. Like, they are so easy to mess up. So, at this point, I just decided to play knight on c4 again. And I believe this is the second time we repeated. So, let me see. So, we have this position with the knight on c4, rook on d7, and king on f7. Knight on c4, rook on d7, king on f7. Knight on c4, rook on d7, king on f7. This is a draw for 3 times repetition. And guess what? Both of us didn't see it. We didn't see it. Like, this is a draw. We didn't see it. So if you don't call it, it is not a draw. Like, because we didn't see it. So we kept playing, and you can do that. If you don't see it, you keep playing. So, king on f3. And now, as you see, I'm trying to get my king more active. So my opponent is lower rated than me. At this point, I have like 1 minute. I'm not kidding. And we don't have increment. I have like 2-3 minutes, probably, something like that. My opponent maybe double than that. It was like, I'm better than him, probably in slow times. Because he told me that he didn't play with slow time a lot. So I can try, like, not to flag him, but to play fast, and maybe he's going to make some mistake. I'm probably even more experienced in endgames. So I can give it a shot. Obviously, I didn't want to draw, and I didn't see that we drew. I didn't see it. So we kept playing, and king on f7. What can I do now is h4. It is a try to do something. Obviously, this is equal, super equal. But I have some advantage and disadvantages. Like, the disadvantage is having this pawn, because it's weak. The advantage is that my king is more active, and also I have more space. Now, talking about the knights, this knight is not crazy. This maybe is a bit better, but I'm not sure about that. I can definitely move it. You can just play knight on e7. Well, it still makes sense. I'm just going to play knight on e3, defending everything. So, he decided to play h6. And I wasn't too sure about this move, because my idea is that I want to damage your structure or gain some space advantage. So even at this point, I think I could play this move. Because if you take, it's not easy for you to defend. And you damage your structure. Instead of doing that, I decided to play knight on e3 first. My point is that if you take this point, I can take with the pawn. So Stockfish says is equal, but it is actually really difficult now for black. Because I'm going to push this pawn, create some weakness on the light square. I'm going to get in with the king, and I'm going to push this pawn. I'm probably going to create a pass pawn. And it's not easy to defend, especially if you have low time. So this makes sense. So he decided not to trade. At this point I thought that knight on e7 was a pretty good move. Because I'm not really going to play in this move. I don't think he's too good. He's probably weakening, if nothing. And you want to develop the knight eventually. Maybe even knight on c6 does make sense. So yeah, I thought that did make sense. But he decided to play this move instead. Now g5 is a mistake. I don't care what Stockfish says. This is a mistake. Because now you created all the weaknesses I needed. I can just play h5. And now I'm getting in. Now I'm getting in. So Stockfish is saying take. Okay, bought after that. c5. Because I can't take. c5 a push. f5. So what? Take. And now you can get in. I mean, it's not an easy endgame. It's not an easy endgame. I played this. He decided to trade. Maybe. Think so. Okay, so apparently it traded. Okay, so yeah. This happened in the game. But now we played this. And apparently, and as you see, endgames are crazy difficult. Like, this is equal. If you make a mistake, it could be completely lost. So this is a blunder, this is lost if you find rook on c1. The point of rook on c1, and I missed this move, is that, I mean, it is crazy strong. I'm threatening to get on c6 and win. Because you can't really defend. I mean, I'm going to win something. This pawn is crazy strong, as I said. You can't really allow this. If you allow this, you are going to lose in the long run. So, what can you play? The only move is c5, I guess, but you still lose a pawn. And you can't really lose a pawn in a position like this. If you move the rook, I'm going to take with check. I missed it. At this point, I have like 30 seconds. I'm not kidding. If I don't have 30 seconds, I have 1 minute. I missed it. I'm just blitzing everything. I'm just playing by heart. So I definitely missed something. Sorry guys, but I mean, I literally don't have time to think. I thought this was winning. And looks like it is. Because I'm definitely getting in. So after you play king on f6, and again, I thought was winning, I can take, king take, e4. The king has to go back. I might not be winning, but let me tell you something, I'm much better. At this point, I'm much better. I have a ton of space. If you push this pawn, I'm going to win it. Doesn't take too much to win it. I might threaten to get in the future. I can get in on c6. This is a crazy difficult position to defend as black. Black doesn't have time. Like, he has definitely more time than me. But he still has low time. This is really difficult to defend. So, I'm trying to get some space. I'm trying to do something decent. Just decided to play rook on c1 because, okay, you can... No, wait. You can't even get in. So, what else are you going to do? He decided to play king on d6, which does make no sense. And now d5. d5, I'm just threatening to give a check and win the pawn. As simple as that. c5 only move. c5 only move. Take en passant. Looks like you are losing a pawn. You are not. Because you can block with the rook and you're going to win it. There is no way I can win it. Or, I mean, keep it. So he decided to take it. Now, be careful. We play e5. This is the only move in order to defend the rook. If we trade, we lose the game. Well, maybe we don't lose the game, but we might. We might. Okay, we lose the game. Because, well, I can't really push this. I'm going to lose the pawn. And let's say I try to push the pawn somehow. There is g4. I need to waste some time defending the pawn. King d5, you take. Your king is more active. You're going to shield this king and win these pawns, and you're going to win. I was really close to play that move, but I was like, you know what? I don't have time to calculate. This might be losing for me, because endgames are like this, too tricky. I can play it in order to make the position much more difficult for my opponent. Look on f1. Look on f1, still threatening this, check. And I am... Well, maybe this doesn't win, because you can still defend. But this does win, definitely. So you need to do something about that. So he played rook on e6, and as you see now, I'm completely winning. So I played it well. Why? Because you give me the move king on d5, I'm taking a ton of space, and now I really threatening to get in. Like, if you do nothing, let's say you play this, I'm going to give a check, rook blocks, and I have this move. You cannot take, the rook is pinned. So you need to play king on e8, and now GG. It's over. It's totally over. If you try to defend this, I'm going to win these pawns. Probably, but there is something better. I don't know. Rook g6. King e5. So I put you in Zugzwang. At a certain point, you are going to move the king, and I probably get in this way. Okay, but there are much easier way to win, like this. This wins. This wins. No way I'm going to lose. I play this and what? GG. Stupid stockfish. Oh, you're going to win this pawn. Oh, so crazy. So what? You are completely lost, you stupid bot. You're completely lost. Ain't no way you win this. If you take this, is a draw? Okay, I push. You stupid. Yeah, I win. I win. Stockfish can't play endgames. So, going back. You need to be careful. I mean, this is lost, but you can still play towards somehow. So, king on e7. What I can do now is rook on c1. With the idea, I believe that, and I didn't play it because you can just play this. The idea is that I can wait, rook on f1. So it doesn't work because it can just go back. It's pointless to shuffle like this. Stockfish, I love you so much. Love you so much. So since this doesn't work, apparently, I just decided to waste the time. What is the idea? That if you play this now, there is still this tactic. Well, it's not a tactic, but this move and they win. So apparently b5 kinda holds. Kinda, like not really. But you're just creating a weakness. I believe I can just win by playing this. The fact is that I put you in Zugzwang at a certain point, and I'm going to get in. Like, even if you don't allow me to get in this way, I can allow the king this way instead, and get in with the rook somehow. Or with the king. I still get in, there has to be a way. But instead of doing that, my opponent just decided to play this, and this loses, because now this is super weak. This is super weak, there is no way you can defend it. So at this point I have like 20 seconds. I'm blitzing everything. Everything. And I'm playing well, apparently. So I stop writing moves. To be fair, if you don't have increments in the last 5 minutes, you don't have to write moves. I forgot about that. They told me, like, you can stop writing moves. Like, you have 20-15 seconds. Like, stop it. You're going to lose for time. There is no way you can win this position in time. So yeah, I stopped writing moves down. So I don't remember what happened. But this position, I mean, is dead lost. There are 300 ways to win a position like this. So I'm just going to show you how you could win a position like this. And probably the game was pretty similar. So he decided to play this. What you can do now is not playing this move, because after that they can push. Is not easy. It's not easy. You're making things difficult. You can just play rook on e1. I'm sure that I play this move. The idea is that I want to get to this pawn. So what can you do now? Apparently they're saying rook on a6. I don't remember what he played. I think this. At this point, I'm going to attack you and win the pawn. So he's saying is a draw. I don't believe it. Don't believe it. But yeah, I think he kind of went like this. And maybe he played this and they won. But let's say even if you play this, I'm getting in. If you give me a check, I win the pawn. I don't know why he's saying I'm losing this. But yeah, let's say I play this instead. I'm sure it was completely winning for me. Let's say I play this instead. What else are you going to do? You can move the rook, that's true, but I'm getting in. And after I get in, you cannot defend this pawn. So as you see, you have too many weaknesses. That's why this position is completely lost. Because this king is super strong. I'm covering all the important squares. This pawn is super strong. I'm covering all the important squares. And you might say, well, what if I play for, activity, or, if you want to call it activity. The problem is that the moment you push this pawn, you lose it. You lose it. I can just play this and win. So you can't even push the pawn. Let's say you go for a counter play this way, then to win this pawn instead. Now, if I play this, I can still lose. There are still some ways to lose a position like this. But let's say I play this. And I don't know, you play this. This probably wins. This definitely wins. No question asked. Let's say I play this, you are going to play g4 and we make things difficult. So let's make things a bit easier. e6 looks like the most simple way to win. And let's say you play g4, you're never in time, because I can just play, for example, rook on f7. And let's say you play, I don't know, king on g8. I'm definitely going to win these. Like this. So yeah, it's super simple to win. There is nothing you can do at this point. I mean, this pawn is lost. If you move the rook, I'm going to win this, and I'm going to win pretty easily. So yeah, at the end, I won the game with like, I don't know, 10 seconds, 5 seconds, something like that. It was completely lost. And my opponent lost on time, actually. But yeah, so what can I say? It was a pretty fun game. I didn't play badly. I missed one thing. Like, I had the advantage in the opening. I missed one thing, and from that, like, I was worst for all the middle game till a part of the endgame. But I definitely cooked in the endgame. Like, I probably thought I was Magnus, something like that. I play a pretty good endgame, and I managed to win. So yeah, I'm pretty happy for this game. Pretty happy. So yeah, I'm 3 out of 4. Today is like Friday, and tomorrow I'm going to play the last game. If I win it, I might be second in my club. I'm not sure about that. I probably will get third if I win. Still, the second would have 4 points, but I will probably get third place for stupid chess reason. But yeah, so that's it for today, guys, and see you soon with the last round. Let's see what's going to happen. I'm going to play with black against, I think, a 15-16 underrated player. So yeah, let's see. I hope it's going to be fun. Bye bye, guys.